Hello and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at generators for home backup in the UK. Pros and cons to the different types of generator, things that you'll be looking for, things you might want to avoid. We're going to chat a wee bit about how to connect it to your appliances, and we're going to chat about how to safely connect it to your house using a proper changeover switch that's installed by a qualified electrician. We will touch on different fuel sources. Also going to touch on how to run your generator, where to run your generator, things to avoid when running it, and how to be safe. This is just a guide. This is just my personal thoughts. So you have to use your own common sense when you're putting your own system together. But we will start on the types of generator. So as you can see, I have a few different types with me. I have a small suitcase style inverter generator. I have a larger inverter generator on wheels, and I have a site generator. So we'll start with the site generator pros and cons. So here we have a site generator, standard open frame generator. It has a big fuel tank, and generally these style of generator will have a fairly large output, up to 7,000 or 10,000 watts. You don't want this style for your house. If you're using this for home backup, it's going to work, but it's not going to be the optimal. It is very sore in fuel. Site generators run at a constant speed. The engine doesn't rev down whenever there's less load. They have big fuel tanks, but they use a lot of fuel, up to 20 litres of fuel in 14 hours. That's a jerry can. They put out a lot of power, but it is not smooth power. It is, for want of better words, it's dirty power. It has a bad sine wave, and it is not safe to run sensitive electronics like an Xbox, a TV, even a fridge freezer with microchips controlling it. That will not, it will work for a short time, but it will damage your devices. Site generators generally for home backup should be avoided. So I have two inverter generators here. I have a suitcase style inverter generator, and I have a larger inverter generator on wheels. So we'll go through a few pros and cons of each one, but both of these would be suitable for connecting to a house. On the smaller generator, we have a maximum of 3,000 watts running and a 4,000 watt surge. This particular unit, and I would recommend if you're looking for any inverter generator for your house, this one can run on petrol and propane. So you have a caravan style socket, 16 amp. You have parallel ports, so you can run this with another unit to double your power. And you have a start dial, which is fairly easy to use. This generator is pull start only, so that means when you want to start it, every time you want to start it, you're going to have to pull the pull cord. It also has a fuel gauge, which is very useful to be able to see what's in the tank without taking the cap off. So that is a very, very generalized overview of your smaller suitcase generator. This is a larger inverter generator on wheels. The benefits to this is that it has two 240 sockets, again parallel kit. It has a gauge that will tell you voltage, frequency, and hours run. The hours run is very useful for servicing. It also, and the main, well, not the main point, but the two main advantages over this compared to the smaller one are electric start. So you still have a pull start if the electric fails, but the electric start is much easier to start if you maybe suffer from shoulder pain or you don't have a lot of power. Much easier to start. Then it also puts out 3,600 watts and a surge of 4,600. So again, it's a bigger capacity for running things in the house. This generator will run, this is my own personal generator, and it will run my fridge, my oil central heating, my lights, my TV and my Xbox all at the same time, and it is usually around 50% load. Again, this is dual fuel, and that is very, very useful in the event of a prolonged power outage. As a rule of thumb, when it's at about 50% to 80% load, I'm using 20 litres a day, so I'm starting my generator at about 7 in the morning and I'm running it through to maybe midnight or 1 in the morning. I'm using 20 litres of petrol, so that's 1 jerry can a day. That gives you a rough guide to what this uses. So now we're starting to think about, we've got our generator, we've decided on a model. How am I going to power my appliances? Well, the easiest way to do this, that doesn't require any modifications to the generator or to the house, is simply an extension lead. One extension lead to the fridge, and one extension lead to the TV, the Xbox, maybe a table light or a hall light. And that's the handiest way to connect it. No modifications needed. Brilliant. Now, if we were thinking, I want to be able to use my lights, I want to be able to run this through my home, well then we're starting to think about getting a qualified electrician to install a generator changeover switch. This means that when I connect my generator to my house, I am not going to backfeed the power line and potentially hurt someone. It's going to be connected properly so that my trips and switches and RCDs work. Generators like this, generally from the factory, generally, but not always, have a floating neutral. That affects how MCB or a trip in a house would work. To enable this to run through a changeover switch, a link has to be made between the earth and the neutral, and the generator must be earthed to the ground using the earth lug. I'm not going to go into the specifics of how to do this because that's for another video, and it's not what I'm going to be covering in this, but if you're running a generator and connecting it directly to your house, you must have a changeover switch that breaks before makes, so it must be on load, off, generator load. These units are a brilliant unit if you're connecting to your house. So we've decided on what generator we want. We've decided on how we're going to connect it to our house. So now we're thinking about fuel storage. All the units that I own run on propane and petrol. Petrol and propane both need to be stored correctly and safely in a certified or approved container. There are also, specifically with petrol, there are limitations to how much you can store in the UK. I am not 100%, and this is my opinion, I think it's up to 30 litres, but I'm sure someone in the comments will correct me if I'm wrong. So one of these jerry cans is going to run this particular generator for about 2 days, give or take, maybe slightly more, slightly less, depending on how much you're running it. These generators also run on propane. Propane stores much better than petrol. You don't have problems with gummed carburetors. You can store a lot more propane, so you can. So a 47 kilo propane cylinder will probably keep this running a week without having to stop to refuel. But that's a big tank to be storing, and it needs to be stored properly outside, not inside. Benefits of dual fuel is I've got petrol for my lawnmower, I can use it in the generator. I've got propane for my cooker, I can use it in the generator. It's on hand, I'm not storing extra, it's just stuff I have around. Regarding petrol, this unit's fitted with a fuel gauge, which is very, very convenient, which means that I don't have to stop the generator to look into the tank to see how much I've got. These jerry cans, other brands are available, but I like Wavian. Wavian's very, very good quality. You probably tell what brand of generator that I like, but there are other brands available, like Honda, Hyundai, they're good units. I just happen to favour the Champion. I've had one for well over, not this one, but I had another one for well over 10 years. No problems at all. Starts first time, the engines in the Champion generators, they just want to go. You don't have to pull the pull start very hard, it just wants to run. No problems, never had an issue. So, we've chosen our generator. We've decided how we're going to connect it into the house. we've decided what fuel we're going to run it on, and now we're thinking, right, I'm in a power cut. Well, when is the power usually out? When there's a storm. So it's going to be wind, it's going to be rain, it's going to be very damp. And what's the first thing you read in the generator? Use it outside, don't use it in the rain. When do I need it? It's raining because it's a storm. So one of the things that I recommend and I use is a gem tent. It's made in America. I had to import this one, but I believe Champion now sell one in the UK market. You can certainly get them on Amazon. It simply fits onto that frame. This trolley is entirely separate. This is something I made myself. The frame that comes with the gem tent simply sits over. The gem tent slips over and it ties down at the corners. So now I can run my generator in the rain safely, and I'm not worrying about getting electrocuted or damaging the machine. The other thing we need to talk about when we're running it, I have seen some proper horror stories on YouTube and on Google about people running these in homemade shelters. The two things to be very aware of are, or three things for carbon monoxide kills. It's a gas, you can't see it, you can't taste it. Do not run the generator near your house or in a shed. Always run it outside. Always run it somewhere well ventilated. As we are here, we're outside. This is my garage, not my house. It's outside, still covered from the rain, but we have no worries about having carbon monoxide poisoning. The other thing we need to chat about is heat. Generators produce heat, a lot of heat, and generally from the exhaust side, you cannot put this into a small box. It must have air circulation to work correctly. If you try to run this in a garden shed or in a small plastic shelter, it'll overheat. It might not stop it working, but it'll definitely shorten the lifespan of it. It's also not safe because you could start a fire. Not saying you will, but you could. Thanks everybody for watching. I am going to try and do a review of the larger Champion and the smaller Champion individually to show you some of the pros and cons where we go more in depth, looking at exactly what loads we can put onto it, looking at exactly how long the fuel's going to last, roughly on different loading, things like that. So if there's anything you'd like to know, leave it in the comments and I'll do my best to reply to everyone. Thanks, bye.